Hi, you guys. It is time for us to talk about everybody's favorite posture. Awkward pose, Utkatasana, right? It's almost like 3 postures in one. And man, you want to talk about like getting you so centered and into class because it's an intense posture. So awkward posture, you guys, right? Like the first thing in the setup, and you say this a lot, Sarah, right? Is just making sure that you step out, heels invisible behind your toes, 6 inches between your toes and your heels, and making sure, right, your heels stay invisible behind your toes. How hard is that?
So it's not hard to do, right? It is hard to concentrate enough to focus your mind, but when you're standing upright, the first part, it's not actually that hard to do this. The hard part comes when you sit down and you have to control it, because then the feet want to come out. Something, a V.
Mine likes to curl in this way. I have to.
So this is when you have to control it. Now, why do you have to control it? Because it's the right thing to do? No, because it's effective. Because we're trying to use the muscles to bring health to the joints in awkward posture. Now, if the heels turn out funny way, the knees go funny way, and then pressure is put onto the joints rather than sustaining them with the muscles.
Right.
I mean, you're basically learning how to use your hips properly. I mean, it sounds silly because we've had them all our lives, but just learning how to use them properly.
Yeah.
So when you sit down, your legs shouldn't splay out, or they shouldn't turn in. They should just bend.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, that's how they're designed to work. But if we've spent a lifetime of not quite using them right, then maybe they bend out as we sit down, or they come in as we sit down, hence the sort of knock knee and bow knee kind of phenomena, which, as you're saying, causes uneven wearing on the knees, causing meniscus issues and ligament issues and all kinds of stresses and strains on the ankles and the feet, and it all falls apart. So awkward's like, you know, we do it very early in the sequence just because it's a great way to just get the foundation straightened out, get it warmed up and get it get it straightened out.
Yeah, that's a key thing, Matt. Like if you guys see that your knees or your heels kick in or out, it's giving you information that something's not going on with your hips. For me too, that's why I kind of love this posture. I know it's hard, but I know, like especially my left hip, that it's really healing my hip. That if I pay attention and sit down the right way and I've got everything parallel, that I'm really nourishing my hip in the right way.
And it's something that, you know, the Western doctors are starting to give advice, particularly to older people, that they've got to practice. Obviously they don't say awkward because that's not their vernacular, but they talk about the need to learn how to sit down and stand up, to learn to use the hips and the knees, and because it's a good indicator of the longevity of your life. If you can keep this part of your body healthy, it is correlated to some degree to do with the length of your life, because you've got a stable foundation. Obviously, you're less likely to have hip fractures at older ages and all that kind of thing.
Osteoporosis, right? You hear a lot of people falling and breaking their hip. Even Sadhguru says that all the time. It's like even at an old age, you should be able to sit down and get up.
And interestingly, it's not just correlated with lack of ability. There are athletes who can't sit down and get up. They can do other stuff, but they can't.
But the 25-year-olds that can't sit down.
Right. But it has what that sort of that correlation also goes for like a professional athlete who can't do that. It has the same difference compared with their colleague.
Sarah. I mean, it's everybody. It's all of us, and we fall out of alignment. So it's a great posture to bring back alignment. So don't get frustrated if you feel your heels curl. It's just giving you information to try 100% the right way.
It's also. I was just going to say that it's really important to distinguish between, you see in modern fitness in gyms, a squat that's very different. That our awkward is something that's particularly healthy. But you see a wide-legged squat like this, like a deep squat, which has some benefit in building strength in your glute muscles and your thigh muscles, but it's terrible for the alignment of your body. So it's terrible for your knees, your hips, and your ankles, because everything's not actually in its proper alignment. And so some people who've done a lot of that then come to Bikram Yoga and have to rebuild the natural order of their joints.
Their hips?
And so they have to rebuild.
Right.
That's
a good point.
Patience.
Actually, maybe that's the next thing we can talk about, because I think one of the common mistakes is that when we sit down, I know you say this a lot, Matt, we don't sit down enough, and also too, we're sinking. and we're not going back, right? We're not placing 100% of our body weight on our heels. I don't know if you want to demonstrate, Matt, maybe a right way, wrong way, just with the hips,
definitely.
just with the hips.
So yes, because the first thing I think people do is they often treat this like it's some kind of gymnastic movement that we call sitting in the chair, but it's not really that, it's something else. And the thing is, it really is. It really is sitting in the chair. So if the chair is behind me, what do I do normally? I mean, normally I would just sit down in the chair. And I do this every day. I mean, I sit down in the chair and I type on my computer and everything. And so we're just learning how to. So it's not this. See how much stress this puts on my shins and my ankles.
And you can see he's got no weight in his heels,
and then
right?
If I do this, there's no chance of me sitting down. If the teacher says sit down, well, I'm like, but my ankles are hurting, my shins are hurting, they're burning. And it's also not this. Because this is not stable, and it's certainly not how you sit in chair, at least not any chair that I know of.
Can you show the first one again? Because look at what's happening to your knees in it. And people will say, oh, I do it like that because my knees are like, yeah, they do.
Of course they do. Think about this. Guys, all of his weight is going right in that joint. That's like bad. Don't do that.
This is not right. Whereas if I just... And stretching the arms is really important because the moment I strengthen my arms, I stretch forward. So it's not because I've lost everything.
It
I've
goes
lost
back
my
to
spine.
half moon and what we talked about with half moon, shoulders down.
This. See how I just build strength. So now my whole body.
You see how, you guys, he's got like a lot of space between. It's not like his shoulders are up. Down. You're a good demonstrator. It's like a puppet.
So it's just stretching the arms forward to build solidity, strength. So there's nothing loose, nothing hanging. And this strength then goes all the way into my body, and I sit down. Now, once I'm down, I do need to keep the knees back, so I don't want the knees to come forward like this. I don't want to end up doing that, because that's not a normal way to move the body. This is perfectly normal. And then I just need to lift my chest up. And lift my chest up and keep the chin up. And keep bringing the weight back until I'm almost falling over.
Right. See how his energy's going this way, you guys? It's going that way. As his arms go that way, there's that equal and opposite. Nice. Sarah, why don't you demonstrate when you do it, like how you bring your hips back? Because sometimes, you guys, we sacrifice the upper body going forward to get our hips back, and that's okay, right? And then lift your chest up, right? So,
where do you want me to be? Are you going to come with me? Right.
Excellent. You see how her hips are going back, and she's then trying to lift chest up, and keeping the weight in her heels as she leans back and goes back. Good. And then come on. Now, can you show, I don't know if you can, because you do it so well, like when there's no muscular engagement, when people are just falling, when they're not getting the benefit. I should say it that way, you guys. It's not like you're just not getting the benefit out of the posture.
I forget how to do this because I used to.
Yes, oh my gosh. Do you guys, if this looks like you, it's not the right way.
There's another one.
Correct it. Can you correct it? Like, and no problem as beginners, right? Or just if we've been doing this for a long time. It's common, but it, here, and then how would you fix that? Like,
It's harder to fix than get into it.
Right.
It's
excellent.
Then there's also that it is about, as Matt pointed out, a chair is not a bar stool, as our teachers would say. So there's this one which is
right.
Now I'm stuck here. I can't.
Yes,
exactly.
But why did it happen? It happened because your knees went forward.
Yes.
So if you stand up and keep your knee back and sit down, keep sitting down, keep sitting down, keep sitting down. And so then that way, as long as the knees don't come too forward, then you're sitting down in this chair.
Then your journey is chest up, right? Because
once you've got down.
Exactly. Matt, you can bring your chest up. You have that. So the common mistake, right, would be that the heels tend to close in And remember, in the posture, we're telling you to, right, to open up your knees, 6 inches, toes, heels, knees, hands. So those are corrections for you to make, right? And make sure, right, you're leaning back, going back, right? You really want to find that edge. Oh, I guess we have a prop coming in here.
So what, I mean, we talk about sitting in the chair. Why don't I just sit in the chair? It's a chair. We all know how to sit in a chair.
I know. I'm just going to say though, Matt, you have a great ability to keep your feet flat. I can't, when I go down, if I go down all the way, I don't have that kind of flexibility in my hips to do that. Not right now. So when I sit down,
but that's not the truth.
Well, watch, yeah.
Sit in the chair.
Right. I can sit in the chair, but the way I can't hold this way. If I let the chair goes back, I'm going to fall down backwards.
Yes, because you're not trying to hold yourself up, because you've sat all the way down into the chair. But if you had sat until you were just barely touching the chair, the point is you didn't collapse into the chair. So you didn't do this. You didn't go. That was collapsing into the chair.
But I can do this a lot better than I used to. So when I go back,
all we're doing is sitting into the chair.
Right,
Right,
and then sometimes I have to sacrifice my upper body going forward to keep the weight in the heels. See, my toes want to come up, so I readjust, keep my hips in the chair, and then I really got to lift up.
Well, I think there's something in the...
But if you practice, so for instance, if you practice just sitting so that you...
Well, no, I am practicing. I mean, this is a lot better than what I used to do, right? Yeah.
I think there's something wise in there, though. It's not like... You can do it like Matt, or you do some weird variation.
Yeah.
What you do is attempt to do it
right.
So the practice is trying it.
Right.
So I cannot get my thighs parallel to the floor and lift my chest up as much as if I keep my thighs slightly less parallel. So my job is to try to do both each class, whether it works or not, because something's happening.
Yeah.
Now, over time, my awkward used to be what I demonstrated at one point, this affair, sort of all squash, the shoulders coming out, chin sticking up.
Right.
It's no longer like that. It's better than it was. It's closer towards it, and I get more benefits from it, but it's still not perfect.
Plus, on top of that, people don't sit in the chair as much as they could. There's no doubt about that. I think that we forget to sit down.
The point about the chair is that it's obviously something we do all the time. 100% of humanity, or more or less 100% of humanity, sits in chairs, or at least in modern society. So we're all used to doing it. And I think we've probably all experienced sitting heavily into a chair.
Absolutely.
And maybe getting a sore bum, or making a loud thump, or the chair vibrating or something. We've sat too heavily in the chair. And so we also have the experience of trying to not do that again.
Right.
And so the experience of trying to not do that again is what you're doing when you sit in the chair in awkward, because also you're not trying to build up so much momentum you end up lying on the floor. You're just trying to slow down as you get close to the point where you would be sitting in the chair.
Right,
and then stop.
You're using your abs and your thighs more and more naturally.
But it's the same thing you do when you sit in the chair.
Right. But
you just don't know that it is, because it just feels like it's different.
People realize the chair is there and they just go kerplunk and then don't realize that.
So I have a question for you. Exercise. So now it is the truth. It is the truth that you sit in the chair, and all these instructions in Bikram Yoga that sound like they're a little bit strange, like Japanese ham sandwich or trying to touch the ceiling, they're actually practical instructions. They're giving you a way to conceptualize it, which is easy and quick to understand.
Yeah, right.
And do you have any techniques if someone literally doesn't know how to do it? Is there any technique that you can tell them how to do it?
Well, the most successful technique I've had with students that have really fundamentally stuck on this posture is to get them in front of a chair, or in front of a chair, and literally have them sit down slowly.
Right.
And even put their hands here.
Yeah.
Sit down slowly.
That actually is a good
until
idea,
you're
because they know the chair is there. Yeah, right.
But I haven't yet put my weight in the chair.
Yeah.
So I'm holding the weight in my thighs. So I'm holding my weight up. I'm touching the chair, but there's no weight in the chair. You could pull the chair away. I'm not going to fall over. And then have them come up.
Yeah.
And then come down and come up and come down and come up a bunch of times until they have the muscle memory of that sensation. And then suddenly you realize, okay, so then come down. And what's the next thing we do in awkward? Because obviously we have our arms up.
Yeah.
So now you have to, this is harder
Yeah.
to lift the chest up because
Yeah.
the weight wants to go back, so you
Right.
want to end up collapsing
Right.
into the chair.
Yeah.
But it's only learning how to keep what you've already got happening in your
Yeah.
legs and your hip muscles.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same, it's not a different thing, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You've just got to hold it as you try and lift your
Right.
chest up.
Yeah.
And so usually I found that students who do that 3, 4, 5 times in a row, like outside on one of the benches or on an actual chair, a light bulb goes on.
Yeah. They can do
It's like,
it.
holy,
Yeah.
I never knew I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of this
Yeah.
yoga is that, it can, sometimes it takes somebody 10 years, but it didn't take 10 years. It took 10 seconds, but it took 10 years to be in the right time and place for that moment to happen, that 10-second
And
moment.
all the light bulbs to go off.
Yeah.
And also to realize, remember too, you guys, awkward posture is all muscular engagement, right? We just work the lungs, we just work the spine. Now we're getting into the muscular body before we work into the joints, right? We're warming up. So when I think about awkward posture, I love it for that reason. I feel like, oh my God, I'm getting stronger in my abs. I'm getting more strong in my hips. And it's also your footwork. I mean, Rajeshri talks about this a lot. I mean, if you suffer from plantar fasciitis, right, you're using your heels and you're on the top of your toes and you're on the balls of your feet, right? And you're making sure that your alignment is correct with your feet, right? Too, like we all have a tendency to kind of kick our ankles out to the side, right?
Yes.
Like getting strength, and you see it in how people walk,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yes.
Too. So
In fact, you can develop. I had strange arches that when I moved, they were flat.
Yeah.
And when I was at rest, they would be very high. So they were both problems. And through doing Bikram Yoga, through doing awkward second part, which I wasn't very good at all in the beginning. I couldn't, I developed normal arches.
normal arches,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Well, why don't we
And
move
students
into
have told me as well.
Yeah,
Well, it's interesting-
I feel that with you too. I feel like my arches are a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, there's something that's really important to say. You
Yeah.
touched upon it,
Yeah.
plantar fasciitis, which, of course, is a fancy Latin term for my feet hurt. But
It's
literally
inflammation,
No,
right?
it's
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah,
It's
no,
literally
I
what it
know.
is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
is that our feet have 26 bones. They have 30 joints. They spend most of the time stuck in these rigid shoes, and they become sort of vaguely fused in a vague sense. Very, very stiff.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to hurt.
Right.
Of course
Yeah,
they're going to hurt
good
when you start
point.
to use
Yeah.
them. So if you're,
Yeah.
if you've only just started your Bikram practice and your feet are hurting like hell, be happy. Be happy because you're starting to restore a range of motion that will serve you for the rest of your life. But right now it's uncomfortable. But eventually, as those 30 joints start to do their job, that means that your ankle joints, your knee joints, your hip joints all have the correct amount of cushioning coming from the ends of the legs that they were designed to have, rather than just big clods at the ends of the legs.
Think about
are
that. All the
so you'll
work
end
that
up with
your
less
feet
impact injuries in
Yeah,
your body.
right.
So yes, it's an uncomfortable journey, but it's an extremely important journey to give you strong health all the way up into your hip joints.
So if you're suffering, you must be happy.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
It's true, right?
It is,
It's true.
yes.
So, and over time, guys, you watch too, you'll start to enjoy that suffering because you know something good is happening, right? So, okay, how about second part then? High in the toes. Can we I'll just move this over here. So stand up, high in the toes. I want to bring up something about this second part. One of the first phrases in Sari can, this part, like stand up high on top of the toes. I think that is so
Stand up on your toes.
maximum. Like, think about that, you guys. That's the first. So what are we doing? Like literally, what are we doing with the legs?
Legs are as straight
Starting
as
to lock
possibly
them
can
out.
be, yeah.
You're knocking the
You're
knees.
starting
You
to
must
lock
start
them
with
out.
not starting with bent legs. It's hopeless. You're starting to lock the legs. You're starting to learn to use the thigh muscles.
To extend the legs
It's
all the way
interesting
through
with
to
all the
toes.
warm-up postures that it's a great point.
Stand up.
All the warm-up postures will teach you the techniques what you have to use for the rest of the practice.
Yeah.
And it's
It's fascinating.
fascinating,
And that's the
yes.
first
You're actually
phrase
warming up your
into the
understanding.
second part.
Yes.
And you've got to be stand up.
Concentrate, meditate, stand up on your toes, maximum like a ballerina. Yeah. We did a good technique on the ballet bar to show how much you can get on your toes.
Oh yes, I mean if you've got something if you don't have to worry about balancing, you can get.
Just to see how to
how high
yeah.
can you get, Sarah? I can get up there more than I used
I
to.
need to build a lot more strength.
Yeah, see, but I can still, you know, if I focus on kicking my heels up, which is where my focus is,
And
you
then
know,
sit down in the chair.
and then sit down in the chair, sit down, but see, my upper body's got to go back. Woo, up. I love the feeling. I love this feeling.
It's particularly like in class when I do, sometimes I can get a full Bikram second.
Yeah, I always feel like it's like the little teeny stone on the bottom and all the big stones that are balancing up on top of it. That's what I think about this posture. I'm like, oh my God, we're just like the little stone is the edge of our big toe, right? And the bigger stones is the rest of the body trying to balance, right? Yeah.
In terms of what I see with this posture is that one of the common things that happens with this and the third part, is that the second and third parts are quite different in terms of the spine to the first one. So in the first one, you're down here and you're lifting up.
Yeah.
So there's a degree of arch in the spine, and it's perfectly intentional. In the second and the third one, it's like somebody's pulling your hair up, so your spine stays completely upright all the time. And the same thing in the third part, all the way. All the way down. So that sense that you're extending, you're stretching your spine, natural human traction of the spine. And I think if you miss that bit, then it's all like a sack of potatoes. So then you're like,
totally. Oh my God.
and then I'm struggling and I'm falling and I'm struggling and it's a mess. Whereas if I can try and imagine somebody's
and that's
stretching
true.
me out.
Yeah, we laugh. You guys laugh. Imagine I'm pulling your head towards the ceiling.
Yeah.
You need to imagine it, right? Like, because that, even if you stopped in space, you haven't stopped. You're still stretching your spine up towards the ceiling, right?
And of course, if you do that, if you visualize that like your hair is being pulled up to the ceiling, as you're sitting down, there's a lightness in your hips.
Yes, 100%.
So it's not like there's a full body weight dropping into hips. It's almost like you're levitating, levitating as you come down. Versus without that, it's like,
oh my God, no muscular,
this heaviness.
no stomach, abdominal muscle contraction, right?
No hips.
No hips. And Jim Callett used to say, he would say, in the second part, the only thing lowering is your hips.
That's right. Yeah.
I only just found this out.
Heels,
Everything else
I finally found that you have to sit the hips down first, and it's like I used to be on the toes, trying to get the knees up. Nothing would happen. Just bring your hips
So there is
down.
everything stays up.
So there is an image that at least some of us that grew up with cartoons like Warner Brother cartoons and stuff. Is there's an image, when the cartoon character runs off the edge of a cliff, and then their lower body starts to drop before the head drops. And the head is the last thing to drop, and their body basically lengthens as their legs drop. And so that image to me is like, the second and third part.
Okay, that's my visual for tomorrow's second part awkward.
I've got a weird one, and this is just, I don't know if this is even going to get shown by Michael, I don't know, or else, but it's like, but if you're as weird as me, I'll tell you how I taught myself, because I can do Paschimottanasana, and I thought, you've got to use your hips like you do in Paschimottanasana. So just in case there's another weird person out there, it's like, that's how I got it.
Yeah, that's
because I know how to contract there. And I thought I just have to sit down like Paschimottanasana and stay out with the spine. So that was how I did for me. Because I applied what I did know to what I didn't know. And it was like, it suddenly was like a light bulb.
Wow. You're right. It is. That is a light bulb. That's yoga, right? Just to think that way. Yeah.
Can I do a pet peeve?
So
the second part. Again, it's the same pet peeve I had with the first part, but it's even worse. So, and people will actually tell me they're going to do, I'm just going to do this little bit because my knees hurt. Oh yeah, good luck with that. Okay, so again, I'm doing a little bit, and I'm going, look at this, I'm flopping my knees down, just coming a little bit on the toes, the knees are taking every part of my body weight. If I go up, you can even see, if I can stay up there, you can see that when I sit down, the knees are supported now. They're actually getting benefit. They're supported by the muscles.
Muscles.
Whereas when I did, so you have to try to come up as high as possible, exactly what it says, and that is the benefit for the knees.
Yeah, look at your spine just grew. Yeah, you know what is funny, you guys too, and this happens a lot, and the more you practice, the more it will come to you, and it's everybody's different. But your mind can be too consumed on one body part, when if you just stay with the instructions, let the whole posture come together, right?
Yes.
When we think about awkward posture, a lot of people are thinking, oh, my knees. Well, no, we're asking you to suck your stomach in, continuously stretch your spine up, right? Use your muscular body, right? And but if you're so consumed about your knees, you're kind of missing the point, right? But I think that happens with everything in life. Do you know what I mean? We get fixated on something,
Yes.
whereas if we just kind of stayed in the moment and let the moment come to us, then we realize like 10 hours after something that it wasn't a big
Yes.
deal in the
There
first
is-
place, right?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the knees just for a moment, there is an important difference. Like people who are nervous about their knees try to do less with their knees, especially in this posture, but it's doing less that's more harmful. So when you're hiking, the most common place where you hurt your knee hiking is going downhill, because you have you don't have a full engagement of your thigh muscles as you go
And that
downhill.
goes then way
You
in the
never
knee,
ever
right?
injure your knee climbing up a hill, striding up a hill, because your muscles are fully engaged to get yourself to
push
climb
you
up the hill.
yeah.
And so it's the same phenomenon here, like Sarah was saying, that the more you can actually just try and do the posture as best you can, thigh muscles are engaged, your whole knee joint's hugging in, it's tight, it's supported by strong muscle,
Right.
it's just getting better.
Yeah, you just maybe have an aha moment. You guys, second part of awkward for me, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about like the climb. I feel my thighs. The lower I go, the more I'm using that thigh to
like
go
you're
up
climbing,
the
not like you're dropping, but you're climbing.
Right?
Yes.
That's why I love that feeling.
Yes.
Because I feel like the lower I go, the higher I'm climbing up on.
Yes.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Again, right? Just over time, just doing the postures the right way.
Yes.
Right. Too.
I think it
So,
goes back also to a more basic misunderstanding that's very common. Well, I certainly had it when I started, which is the understanding of when we talk about strength and flexibility, the very incorrect understanding of these things. That flexibility isn't the ability to stretch a piece of your body like an elastic band to the point where it falls apart. I mean, that's pathological flexibility. That's ill health. That's not a healthy. Flexibility is simply having a range of motion, a mobility in a joint that it's naturally meant to have. It's meant to have a mobility, but the stability comes from the muscle engagement. So at any time you feel like there's a part of your body that is weak, that you feel it's fragile, building the strength through deliberate actions. Like if you've got a rotator cuff problem, part of it is learning how to hug that shoulder in.
Yes.
So you can do that in awkward by making your arm very powerful and strong. So it's not that would just pull it out of the joint like you're going to dislocate it. But this is learning to hug in at the shoulder, at the deltoid, building stability in your shoulder, which is is good in all manner of places in your life.
You're right. You're right. Not underdoing, not overdoing.
Flexible people, it's not desirable for your joints to come out of their sockets when
Ever.
you're practicing.
Ever.
I've done it. It's like,
we learn. Okay, how about, I think we got hit the second part pretty good on common mistakes. Again, you can see people kind of sinking. Oh man, how about you leaning forward, and then we say, hips not below the chair, hips just sitting in the chair, making sure, you're not too low, because guess what happens? You're sinking, right? You're not using that muscular engagement, right? A lot of, abdominal work. So the third part, let's talk about that. Now you're up just on, the balls of your feet, still heels invisible. I see a lot of people where they have a tendency, sometimes they kick their heels out, right? You guys, it's just your knees coming together.
And that actually does again put pressure on the knees. The heels going out, the hips let go, and the knees take the pressure.
Right, then see, I can feel it, right?
Yes.
So, that's why we, at the beginning, right foot steps out to the right 6 inches. Heels, how many descriptions do we have for that? Heels invisible behind, 6 inches between the letter H. I mean, how many times do we describe? And then we tell you to what?
Don't change your feet throughout the entire. Don't change your feet throughout the entire posture. That's the hard. That really is the hard part, because especially as a beginner. In fact, I've seen Bikram say they're going to change, but you've got to think about it. right from the beginning, you know,
do.
and then eventually they don't.
Right, so
But,
that is
yes.
like, you don't compromise there. Don't compromise there. So, okay, you come up, knees together, right? Arms nice and straight. And this I'm sagging, right? Stomach in, chest up, shoulders down.
Like a pulling it
Right?
out.
Yes.
Can you guys feel the difference?
Yeah.
I mean, I see a lot of people this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
chest up.
God, like my whole upper body, spine up, my hair is being pulled up towards the ceiling, and then I slowly, knees together, and down, right?
You see, she's sitting all the way down.
Yeah.
So she's stretching the spine to get the gap between her hips and the heels. She's not coming off the heels. So
I'm not
spine
kerplop.
stretches. Yeah. But not
But also not
Yeah,
the
but
opposite.
not sticking
But
yourself
Yes.
several inches.
Oh, okay, not
Yes.
this either. Yeah.
So the spine is, if you come back where you were, come halfway between, now stretch your spine, you see the spine is stretching to make the gap.
Yeah, this is really hard,
Yes.
but I love it, right?
Yes.
Three-sided box,
Yes.
right? And then to come up, ooh, so hard, right? So knees together nice and tight, and then you slowly push up, 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 all the way up. If I don't keep my eyes focused, I will collapse. Yeah.
So I think, you know, what I see, one of the most common things I see with
Yeah.
this one in more athletic people
Yeah,
is that they come down and they get to about so far down and then they just rigidly tighten up. So they actually haven't come all the way down. And of course we say, come all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. So now they're holding,
Well, you could even say
but the point is they're holding all the tension in their knee
yeah,
rather than holding it
Yeah,
by the extension
yeah,
of the spine.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that gap, that half-inch gap, is the result of stretching the spine, not the result of
Right.
locking the
Right.
knees in a bent position.
right.
And so, whilst, you know, a young athletic person can get away with that for a while, it's not a healthy way to treat your knees.
Yeah. You can tell too, because when Bikram has you, like, he'll tell you to bring your upper body back, right, a little
Yeah.
bit to create that three-sided 90-degree angle box, and it does take the pressure.
Yeah, and it's also why he has you bounce as well in the second
Yes,
thing.
right,
It's
right, right.
It disrupts that
Right.
rigid
Right.
clinging on
Yeah.
that happens in the knees
Yeah.
sometimes.
To be
Yeah.
fair, I've been in studios where they've taught me that, to come down and hover, you know, sort of stick myself there and stay there.
Yeah.
So, and I think if I say the dialogue slightly different, so we often say all the way down, leaning against the wall. If I say come all the way down,
Yeah.
right until the bottom, then stretch the spine to make the gap. So Bikram will say in teacher training sometimes, and no doubt you both experienced
Yeah.
it, sit on your heels.
Yeah, he
Yes.
does
Stretch
say
your
that.
spine.
Right, right.
Yes.
He does
But not
say
to
that.
collapse on
Yeah.
like a flat
Yeah.
pancake.
Yeah.
But, you know, to
Right.
sit on them, stretching the spine the entire
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Continuously stretch your spine towards
Yeah.
the ceiling. Even before you get down, I think.
Yeah.
I never used to think that, but it's you're stretching the spine continuously.
Continuously.
All up,
Right,
the whole
exactly.
posture.
Right,
It
right,
also leads
right.
to another one that for people who are struggling for one reason or another with the posture and get to a certain distance, then kind of get stuck in,
Yeah,
and kind of get stuck in day after day after day.
yeah.
It's like, you know, and you have to be willing to see what's going to happen. So even if that happens, because you've hit an area of weakness in your knees.
Right, you
it
hit
doesn't
a patch,
matter.
exactly.
But it doesn't matter
Right.
because tomorrow or the second set, you get a little bit full
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Right.
But day after day
Right.
after day, you're building incremental strength in the whole range
Right.
of the motion
Yeah.
until eventually you come all the
Right.
way. But if you stay just where it got tricky, you're just going to stay stuck there for a
and I
very,
think
very
that's
long time.
where- I think you guys, that's where we get stuck, where we think the posture's a specific static moment
Yes.
in the pose,
Yes.
when really the benefit of the posture is the trying of the continually stretching up with your spine as you keep the stomach in and lower down. It's the action, right?
Yeah.
There's that
But
equal
you
and
see that-
opposite
yeah.
too. Remember, this is all about tractioning your spine, right? Too, yeah.
But also,
yeah.
you know, if you watch me, like, imagine I'm a little less stable than I am physically and a little concerned about falling. Well, what's really going to happen?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to
Right.
just collapse
Right.
and hurt yourself.
Yeah.
The worst that's going to happen is you put your hands down.
Right. Yeah.
And then
I
you
think
go,
somebody, right,
you
and
know.
that's good. You guys just
Yeah.
be comfortable if that happens. Don't think that's a
It's
bad thing.
fine.
You're not
It's-
going to
it's
stick out.
absolutely
It's
100%
absolutely, it is fine. And it's giving you information again. I think sometimes we just have to do the yoga over and over again to realize that this is all about me. This is all about like a
Information
about
about-
me
yes,
and
self-study,
what I
yes.
need, right? It's not a
Yes.
failure. It's not, oh my gosh, I don't have it. Like we tend to put labels on it when you start to realize like, ooh, okay, I'm a little bit weak here. Like me too. I'm assessing myself every posture because every day is different.
It actually
right?
becomes a really interesting.
It becomes
it's absorbing.
it
It's
becomes
interesting.
super
Classes
interesting.
over 20 minutes. It seems like
It's
when you're
only
doing that.
90 minutes to do it every day to create perfect health. I mean, it's just
Yes.
like, really
I think
amazing.
I'm going to say that because
Yeah.
of the way the human mind works, and people do have knee injuries, that some people with the third part are going to be worried about.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that are all in the same
Yeah, good
lines.
point. Yeah.
But for example, well, first of all, don't keep the knees apart and then flump down like this, because nothing's happening at all, especially not the support of the knees.
Right.
You're not doing posture and you're not getting the benefits, any support or benefit to the knees. So what Matt was saying, I think you could come a little bit, and then does something hurt? Change a little bit. Are you using the hips? Are you stomaching? Are you stretching the spine? Oh, come a little bit more. So assess it. It hurts. Squeeze the knees like your life depended on it. Come a little bit more. Maybe that day you only get down here. Tomorrow you start again from here, and you do all those techniques. The hips tight like rocks, the stomach in, stretching the spine up, and then you come a little bit more. And sometimes, if you come the right way, it can be very gently. You can come down all the way, putting the hands, but don't make a career out of it. And then now you've found something else out about your body. So it doesn't have to be you go all the way down and fall. It could be for somebody.
Yeah.
But it
Sarah
could be
just
that.
spent 2 minutes talking about yoga therapy.
I suppose so, yes.
Right? We need to remember, right, that yoga is a healing
Yes.
modality. This is therapy, and you just described exactly what should be going through your mind. Okay, is my stomach in? Is my chest up? Is my shoulders down? Okay, am I doing everything right? Keep my knees safe. Can I go down? How further? What does it feel like? Just a stretching. Is it painful? No. Right? Like all those. Am I breathing? Right? Where's my spine? Right? All
So that
yeah.
millimeter each time
Yeah.
is going to eventually you won't even notice you've got there, and everything will have healed on the way down.
Yeah, right, and there you go. Yeah. So I think one of the other thing too. There's so much about awkward posture,
Yes.
but you can tell. I don't know if we're all exhausted by the end of third part. It's like just like Speedy Gonzalez. Everybody wants to get up, right, knees together and up out of
Yes.
posture. When really, the exit too is where you're gaining a lot of strength, right? Take your time, squeeze your knees together, stomach in, and again, imagine that someone's pulling your hair up towards the ceiling and come out of the posture really slow. That's one of the main things that, Bikram emphasizes in his Orange Book in particular is just the amazing ability to exit every posture because it will create good self-discipline and willpower. So maybe it is hard, maybe you don't get all the way, but you got to be careful that not every day you're making this kind of habit where you're just going to jerk up out of the posture. Right? Like use that strength. It's resisting gravity too. Yeah, you went down, now you got to come back up. Might be a little bit harder, but try.
Again, with how I was going down, like Michele said, the fact you can't come up all the way really slowly doesn't mean you can't try.
Right.
The fact you make a mess doesn't mean you can't try.
Right.
You can try anything.
Yeah.
And by the act of trying,
Yeah.
something happens.
Yeah.
And the next day, you're
Yeah.
a bit further ahead.
Yeah. I think Jason Wynn used to say that. He used to say that in order for you to sort of grow in a posture, you have to risk looking like a fool.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
you do. And until you do that, and I challenge all you guys to do that, because it's true, right? We want to kind of stay in our groove from yesterday or whatever, right? But yeah, to move out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, move out of that.
Well, I think we're immersed within our culture in the idea that every moment is a performance, that there is judgment, there's opinion, there's
Sadly.
that our performance is being assessed
Yeah.
in some way, either by ourselves or by other people around us, circumstances. So we're in this mindset where we're constantly obsessed about the results of our actions. And so we're very cautious about doing something that might generate wayward results or undesirable results, which then tends to have us play a little small.
Right. That's a great
And so
point.
that reminder
We do.
in yoga is not performance.
Yeah.
Yoga is not
Yeah.
perfection.
Yeah.
Yoga is practice.
Yeah.
In practice, if you're at a firing range, practice, you're going to shoot, and half the bullets are going to miss the target. You know, if you're practicing your serves in a tennis court, half your balls are going to go out. It's out, in, out, whatever. It doesn't matter because it's practice. And so letting go of that concern about the results so that you're only absorbed in the quality of the action you're taking. And of course, that's the center point of the entire meditation of the yoga, you know, to be there in that moment only with the action, not with the results. Because you have no control over the result. You only have control over the action. And that is the yoga.
You're reminding me, I read this story about like the Boston Marathon. It takes so much to qualify for that. And you know, most of the 40,000 people, there's only going to be one woman winner and one male winner. But yet everybody does it because no matter what, even if it was 6 hours, 7, 8 hours, you did it and you feel good about it and that sense of satisfaction. You know what I mean? So like that's a good story. Like you can enter into something, you know you're not going to win, but you're in it for you. You're in it for your personal best. You know, you're in it because you want to try something like this. So, you know, the yoga room is a pretty special place too because we're in it and there's no words in here. There's only mirrors. There's some beautiful carpeting. There's a great atmosphere, right? And there's a teacher on the podium, which you don't really see eye to eye. You're just looking at yourself and you're hearing a vibration of dialogue for you to concentrate on you, right? So there really isn't a better atmosphere where you're not, it's conducive to not performing. It's just, you know, unless you have your own critical voice going on, which most of us do. But, you know, it's just consistency and keep coming and recognize, right, that this is all here to serve you.
Awkward posture, interesting name, because in other lineages they call it chair. You sit in the chair. Awkward posture is an interesting name, given what you just said, because it does get into awkward parts of the body and awkward parts of the mind. But the benefits of dealing with them is amazing. You know, we don't even know what each person is going to get from it.
Exactly.
Your
benefits. Exactly. Yeah, you can't even. There's no list. Right. Exactly.
All of that. What does that contribute? But awkward to focus yourself. And just take the actions.
Yeah, for me, by the time I'm done with awkward, half moon, yes, but by the time I'm done with awkward, because it's so intense in concentration, I'm sweating and I'm really here, right? Like I'm really into my practice.
I mean, my invitation to everybody is always, you know, next time you sit in a chair, do it consciously. Do it with attention. Just see what happens. Because it's something you're already good at.
Right.
And just notice, whatever it is you notice, but just notice something about how you sit in a chair. Do you sit heavily? Do you sit lightly?
I'll even do that.
Do you feel the cushion and then slow down a little bit to land nice and softly? Do you just collapse into the chair and feel the legs kind of bow a little bit? You know, we're all, you know, and start to notice how is it different, but also how is it different? Like if you sit at a desk chair, like a wooden rigid or dinner table chair, do you sit differently on that type of chair to a couch? Obviously in a couch we often throw ourselves into a couch because we're all springy and cushiony.
There's no support.
But in a traditional chair or a desk chair, an office chair, how do you sit in that? How do you sit at a bench? Because usually benches are hard. So in your mind, subliminally, you probably sit on a bench a little bit differently, like say at a bus station, a bus stop. You probably sit down a little differently to how you sit in a chair. You're doing it automatically. You probably never noticed it. But my invitation would be to start to notice it and see.
Or I know this is terrible to say, you're making me think of a public restroom. There you go.
That's a good thing.
How do you sit down in that? You don't touch it, right?
Well, there you go. So you practice those skills, you know.
There you go.
We can all do first part awkward or in a dirty bathroom.
You know, particularly if you're in a counter or a state park or something, you know.
I'm going to do that next time I'm in the stall.
I've totally done it. It's like, I'm probably much better than I do it in the room. I've got a real incentive not to touch it.
There you go.
The question is whether we lead with this content or whether this is in the blooper reel or something.
Is it not an awkward conversation?
It's awkward. Okay, you guys, we spent so much time talking about awkward posture. I really hope, right, from this conversation that you got something, right, and inspired you to come class today or tomorrow soon, right? But, you know, you shared something too, which is interesting about awkward, like when we get to that point in class.
Yeah, so I used to experience it myself. until I understood some of the techniques we've been talking about, and I see it, it's kind of a black spot of apathy and giving up and even fear. And if that's you, embrace it for the benefits, and just try the technique without giving any regard to the result, because the result will take care of itself by you taking the technique.
And I
don't
want to
give
add
up.
to that, because I feel like if you translated that into your normal life, what is it that is in front of you that you're having a little hesitation? Like, so why not use the class as a training tool for when you're facing something that you're about to do, a situation you're in, that you're like, oh, I'm going to embrace it, I'm ready to go, right?
I mean, I would add to that, and I've said it in class a lot, which is your body already knows how to sit in the chair because you do it all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling to sit in the chair in this posture, something's in the way. And that's interesting. That's very interesting that there's something in the way, and it's clearly not physical, but it feels like it's physical. So what else in our lives do we feel like something's in the way, and we think it's something other than it necessarily is?
Yeah.
And so that's part of that journey of realization as our awareness grows, that what we thought was in the way might actually not at all be in the way, and something else is in the way. It could be that I'm simply standing 1 foot to the left and there's a sign blocking my view, and if I took 1 step to the right, oh boy, I can see it right there.
Right.
So sometimes the obstacle is absolutely not what we think the obstacle is.
Yeah.
And so all of these asana, and it's lovely and awkward, but all of the asana are teaching us, like locking the knee is an exercise in muscularly straightening the leg. Well, we do that all the time.
Right,
We all know how to do it in our DNA.
Yeah, yeah.
But when we're in the class asked to do it,
it's like
it's like, oh my God, there's a lot in our life like
Yeah.
that we actually deep down know how to do.
Right.
But consciously,
Right.
in our
Like
thinking
we
brain,
put
we
a
don't,
block
and we're
there,
stuck.
Right.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be-
Yeah.
So that's why it's a journey of self-realization, not self-accumulation. You're not trying to accumulate external gifts and external powers. You're trying to realize what you have already.
And using the body as a medium to get through those blocks without you having to go through so much mental therapy, right?
Yes.
So
They
get
dissolve
through.
as
They
you go
do
through a
too.
physical level. Yes.
Well, let's then go into the next posture, which is eagle pose, and that takes us right into like before party time.